back on.
Okay, so now we got this going. The wind has picked up. Leaves are starting to fall. It's blowing pretty good. Excuse my daughter. My youngest daughter's not happy that we're out here doing this, so I'm not paying absolute attention to her. My apologies. We're going to try and get this cotton going again. See if I can fluff it out a little more. Try and give it a chance. As you can see, that homemade fire starter is really going like crazy. That gel is burning pretty steady but small. Not all of it is caught. That trioxane bar is mostly burned away already. We'll fluff this up like this and see if it starts to dry that wood out and get it going. That's already starting to smolder and smoke. The Vaseline cotton is smoldering, but it is not catching. Like I said, I've had these out here for about 20 minutes prior to this. I set this up waiting for my wife to get ready and everything. So these are all burning pretty good, except for that cotton. Now in dry conditions, I usually have no problems with cotton. I don't think most anybody else ever does either. So, really in the wet of the Pacific Northwest, it does not do well at all. And while these are going and we got those started, I'm going to see how well these dry out that larger stuff and get it going. So I'm going to take another one here and I'm going to use the main pit for that. I'm going to clear out these leaves that are just falling. There we go. That's pretty good sized. We'll start off with that. I don't want this to turn into a full-fledged fire, so I'm just going to see how large we can go. That wind is really going now. I gotta get this splint off my hand soon. I keep breaking matches with it because as I'm striking down, that splint smashes into that match. And sorry, I'm having a conversation with my wife. There we go. Excuse me. Yeah, why not? Let's see how big we can go. Just letting you know, we'll throw some of the bigger stuff here. So that does. The winds are picking up. You can see it blowing the flames around. This trioxane fuel tab is almost completely gone. Although it does have this stick going. It's got that bottom one in charcoal that was sitting right on it. The upper stick is just starting to coal up. Here we've got the same thing with these wet sticks that were over this one here. Oh, it keeps throwing pieces off. And as a side note, I am wearing another piece of gear that I recommended. This is the all-in-one from IDI. This is a thermal blanket and poncho, as well as sleeping bag mix. In sleeping bag configuration, I do recommend that you use a fleece liner with it, simply because it gets so warm that it gets sticky. You get uncomfortable that way. The all-in-ones have one layer of thermal insulation, will protect you down to 13 degrees without any additional insulation. This one was custom made for me. It has 2 layers of Eliotex, which is the proprietary fabric that IDI uses. That fabric is also has some interesting qualities. Is not only windproof and waterproof like Gore-Tex, but it's also an insulator. And it's a buoyant insulator. So if you wrapped up in this, you could float down a river. It will support up to 225 pounds, just this poncho, which is a really nice, interesting feature. And if we go back to the fires here, we can see that larger stuff is starting to catch in the main pit, and that the stuff in the lower pit. The peroxide bar has gone out. That fuel gel is still burning. It's starting to gel up. Let's see if I can push some of that fire over. So we can see that that trioxine's gone out, but we do have some coals. But they've blown completely out. The only ones I got left is right here, and there's not much there. All I've got is this stick right here. This one is out completely, so all you have is the tip of this one right here. There's no residual coals or anything, just what's on this stick. I mean, the fire starter itself didn't leave anything residual, so you could light off of it, anything to maintain your fire. So you'd really have to nursemaid this around. That fuel gel is doing a fairly decent job. Yeah, it's got a good flame going on that one. There's a lot of gel on here. It's starting to crystallize. You can see it right there. We're going to change this up a little bit and see if we can't get more of this to burn and dry up. See how we're doing with this one. Oh! Yeah, she's starting to burn. I got good coals here. And you can really hear that rain going. You can see those, you can see the wood pellets starting to come out where I knocked it over. And you can see them just burning like crazy. I'm knocking fuel pellets everywhere. You can see how it spread the fire out now. Just knocking that over. Not intentionally, but it's going pretty good. Try some of this and see how we do here. And see, now it's going. It took a lot to get it going. It just doesn't like to keep going. You really have to fluff this out. This is more for getting a spark to get tinder going than to actually light a fire. Because when it's broken apart, it lights fairly easy. When it's compacted together to try and give you enough flame to get bigger stuff going, just does not work well. See, I've got flame here, but it just does not burn well. There we go. Maybe we can get something started with that. Took a lot to get that going, but see how she does with this. No. Went out. It's still got a good bed of coals to get drier tinder going, but it's not doing so well on its own. That fuel gel is starting to burn off. And we're starting to dry out here. You can see this board is really starting to dry out. It's building coals. All the wood around it is lit. I mean, yeah. That one's going really well. Let's see. You really have to get a lot of fluff on that. It is not a good emergency fire starter. It is good for getting a spark to get it to smolder to light tinder, but it just does not burn right off the bat, and it doesn't light anything else right off the bat. Now you can see that the wood pellets have turned to coals here. And you see how they're spread out and glowing. So you've got a bed of coals right here, right off this one little fire starter that would let you relight tinder or anything else. And as you can see, with a preset fire, it's already starting to burn. It's going. I could start building off of that if I wanted to. Catch more of that heat in there. Let's see where we go with this. And you can see it's really just with those big pieces of kindling, it is really just starting to take off there on that. The fuel gel works, but like I said, it's messy, it's easy to puncture. It really doesn't travel well by itself without being sealed in other bags, and even then, once it ruptures, trying to scoop it out, it's a messy endeavor. With the homemade, you gain a little bit in bulk, not so much in weight. I think you get a lot more bang for your buck. Because that was an entire packet of fuel gel. That was one entire trioxane bar. And that was half a bottle of petroleum jellied cotton. And it just did not do well at all. But you can see we're already starting to dry this out. And this stuff is, like I said, has been laying on the ground outside in the Pacific Northwest rainstorms for 2 weeks now. I mean, it was soaked through, but you can see where it's starting to, where it's dried it all out here, and it's catching. She's doing a good job. I got a lot of carbon. The wood itself is on fire now and burning, even soaking wet. None of this was taken off the sides of trees where you'd find dry stuff. So, in this weather. I used the trioxane bars my first year in Scouts until I learned char and other methods. And then, like I said, my grandfather showed me this in one of the threads and told me to take them one time. And I was a smart ass and thought I knew better and could just make do. And well, read the thread and you'll read the rest of that story. But I learned my lesson. And ever since then, I carry quite a few of these around. A dozen egg carton of these, like this, weighs about a pound. Maybe a hair less than a pound. So it comes out really well. And a dozen of these is 12 fires right off the bat in horrendous weather. And if groups in your party are each carrying 12 of these apiece, you're actually doing fairly well. Okay, let's look at this. That fuel gel does have the stick going, and the fuel gel has burned out now. I'm sure if we dig down the ashes here, there we go. You can see as we dig down, we can get a little bit of it out, but it does have the sticks going fairly well. You can see this is going fairly decently too.